only a year and a couple months later. So when we founded Alpha Omega Ministries, I was a whopping 20 years of age. That's how long ago that was. The last thing I said to Elders Reed and Reese was this: someday, gentlemen, you are going to need to know a God who does not change. Because from what I'm hearing, what I'm reading, your God was once a man. And he has changed and he's evolved. And you cannot know for certain that tomorrow morning he will not have changed and evolved so that the very mechanism of salvation itself will have changed. And you might have to do something else. You might find yourself without hope before God because he has changed. When you need to find out about the unchanging God, the eternal God, the God of Psalm 90, verse 2, before the mountains brought forth, the mountains formed, the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. That God, I hope that if you can't get in touch with me, that you will find other believers who believe as I do, who would be able to introduce you to that God. And honestly, that would be one of the main messages that I would want to leave with a Mormon even to this day. Hadn't changed. Hasn't changed. The unchanging character of God, vitally important to what we believe, and vitally important to why we believe in ultimate authorities and the ultimate authority of Scripture. If God could change, you and I don't have any reason for believing his promises. That's the very foundation of the unchangeable character of his promises to us. And so I hope whenever you sing that incredible hymn, Great is Thy Faithfulness, you'll think about that. Mm-hmm. Because we take it for granted. We just simply take it for granted that God is unchanging, that God's promises will always remain the same for us. But that was not the nature of the vast majority of the gods of mankind. That was a radical difference between Yahweh and the Babylonian gods, the Assyrian gods, the Canaanite gods. Massive difference. Massive difference. And so that unchangeable authority then, that the fact that he himself is unchangeable, very important to how we ground that ultimate authority, the ultimate authority of Scripture itself. If it is God speaking, then God doesn't say, and I'm truthful because of this argument over there or that thing over there, because everything else exists because he made it. So he can't appeal to anything higher than God. And I'd say, well, that sounds circular. In a sense, it is. But every ultimate authority has to become circular. And the circle has to come around not to the same statement, I am right because I am right because I am right. No. It comes around to the nature of the one making the claim. And if you have the triune personal God of Christianity, you have a meaningful basis for making that claim. Now, how many of you have ever heard someone say something like what I just said, where they will say, the triune, the Trinity, is central to the claims of God and to the consistency of the Christian faith? How many people have heard people like me and stuff say that? Okay. How many of you have then sat there in honesty and gone, I don't want to ask a question because I don't want anybody to think I'm a non-Trinitarian heretic, so I'm really not sure why that is. Thank you. You're honest. Most of us have. We hear someone make that statement, and very often us speakers just move along and don't bother to ground what we just said. Why? What difference would there be if a law was substituted for the triune God of Christianity at this point? Now I'm going to stop for a moment, because when you ask a question like that, if I immediately start talking, you don't have any time to think about what I just asked you in the first place. And this is an important question. It'll be the last question we deal with today. Yeah, I got one screen up. That was good. I really moved a little bit. Yeesh. But you need to think about this. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to ask you to think about it. And this evening, I'm going to ask you all. Here's what I want you to be thinking about between now and then. Ha ha! And I hadn't even planned on doing it this way, but that's okay.
Listen.
And here's the question that I want to discuss with you as we start tonight. Could a law function as the sufficient basis for making the claim that his word is the ultimate authority, in the same way that we say that the triune God is in and of himself sufficient basis for the authority of his word? Is there a difference in the authority that a Unitarian God, because I guess I need to make sure you all understand this, a law is Unitarian, not only in his being, but in his person. There is only one person of God. There are not three divine persons. There is only one person in a law. So there is no Father, Son, or Spirit. There is no expression of love or communication. There is no Godhead in a law. A law is utterly transcendent. He is above having anything directly to do in the interaction with his creation or his creatures. What is the difference then when you and I as Christians say that the triune God is sufficient in his nature to establish his word as God breathed? What's the difference between a Christian making that statement and a Muslim making the same statement about Allah? Or are they the same? I'm going to leave the option open. Are we simply making the same claim that Islam makes concerning the Quran? I think you can see why this is relevant. This is extremely important. But if there is a difference, what is the difference? Why would the confession of the Trinity change our understanding of the fundamental authority of God in being able to give a self-attesting scripture and a self-attesting word? Now, you may have signed up for the shuffleboard tournament or something this afternoon. You may not have time to work all the way through it, but something tells me you're probably going to eat dinner this evening, and maybe, and I would encourage you, if you are sitting with other believers, go ahead and have discussions about it if you would like. Or just had a beautiful picture from the brother down here, contemplating something by the seashore. You might need to redo that shot with even deeper look of concentration and contemplation before this evening. But I think that would be an excellent place to pick up with. And I'm going to ask for participation from you at this point. But I am going to try to get through a few more screens other than just one, too. So we will try to accomplish that. Brother O'Fallon, you need to stop standing directly under light sources. It's making you look a little bit like George Patton when he was passed over for the command of the invasion of Europe. He was not a happy man.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will be having open seating again this evening.